Many of you are following the Gabby Petito case. And this is a young woman who disappeared on September 11th. She was on a trip with her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. Brian Laundrie, there he is. And she disappeared. And then authorities in Wyoming found her dead. It's a homicide. Now, there was an incident between Miss Petito and Mr. Laundrie in Utah. And the Moab, Utah police were called and did nothing. So now the head of Moab Police Department is going on a leave of absence because his force didn't do anything. Police Chief Brett Edge. So I wanted to talk to a guy who knows the Utah law enforcement community as well as anybody, and also knows the federal government. Let's bring in Brett Tolman from Salt Lake City. He's a former U.S. attorney for Utah. So I wanted to ask you about Durham, too. We'll do that after Gabby Petito. So what did the Moab police do wrong here?
You know, Bill, this state is a state that has a no tolerance, must arrest if you're dispatched on a domestic violence. And here, it's painful to watch the body cam of the police officers, because when they get there, they seem to they don't have the right facts in mind. They do the proper thing and separate the two. But somewhere along the line, they are told 2 times before they interchange with these individuals. They're told 2 times that the male was seen hitting the female on the street multiple times.
That's by a witness, right?
That's correct.
A witness who called 911 told the police department a male was hitting a female. The Moab police then responded. And what did they do wrong?
What they did wrong, first of all, is they asked, Brian, did you hit her? He said, no, I pushed her, but he had inconsistent marks on his face and on his arms that would suggest that there was a fight. They asked Gabby, and she is crying and sobbing, and she indicates that she kind of was pushing and hitting him, and denies that he hit her. So now they have an objective third-party witness that has said that they saw the male hit the female, and they, of course, have both of the individuals denying that. They have no choice. They have to arrest. They entertain for a second arresting her. And so they come to the conclusion that they want to talk to the witness. They talk to one of the witnesses, but they don't talk to the witness that saw Brian hit Gabby. And so at this point, they decide not to arrest Gabby, who they were thinking about, and they simply separate the two. That is a violation of the policy that their office has and of Utah state law.
Do we know why they didn't interview the guy who called 911, the eyewitness who said that Laundrie hit Gabby?
We don't yet. In fact, it was not public for some time that they were told that Brian had hit Gabby. And that just barely came out. The dispatch told them twice that Brian hit her.
All right. So they screwed up by not bringing them into the police station and further investigating and trying to gather all the facts. That was the big screw up, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, is this Chief Edge, is he the fall guy here, or is he responsible for some of this? Should he be on administrative leave?
Well, you know, I know this chief. He's a good officer. He's a good man. I think he's probably at this point going to be the one that says, hey, the buck stops with me. I'm taking responsibility. They weren't trained properly and they made some mistakes. I think these officers will probably be subjected to some discipline as well. But it doesn't surprise me that this police chief is taking the heat on this.
Okay, let's get to the national Durham report. On a Friday, the fiscal year runs out for the federal government, and the Durham investigation may stop being funded. They have to elongate the funding because Durham's taken so long that his time is up on Friday, 2 days from now. Yet, he issued an indictment, I'm sure you know about it, for a lawyer who was working for the Clinton campaign, who was feeding out all this bogus information, not only to the press, but to the FBI itself. This guy, Michael Sussman, is now charged with a felony. So how do you see this overall case?
You know, it's aggravating and it's taken so long. It doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of detail in this indictment. I'll tell you what I think this is, Bill. This is, Durham is setting up an individual that, to be charged, and he brought it to the grand jury with a lot of detail to show that there was absolute manipulation in that story going into the election in 2016 about Russia and the covert connections with Trump. So what he's doing is picking the individual that he believes may have the most knowledge in order to identify the other members of a conspiracy. That entire indictment reads conspiracy. We just don't know all the players. And I believe he probably assumed that he would have the ability to squeeze Sussman, get information, and then expand. But you're right. Now, it's all up in the air because the government funding is going to stop. And will the DOJ, led by, Merrick Garland, will they then see this as an opportunity to stop the investigation?
That would be a huge scandal if they do that. So I don't expect that.
Absolutely.
With all the trouble Biden's having on every other front, if he buries this. My assessment of the investigation, based upon the documents that I've seen, is that Hillary Clinton's campaign paid for all this false, bogus stuff against Trump and involving Russia. That's my assessment.
Yeah, that's right. We never had information that connected the two, but we now have the billing records. And Sussman was billing the campaign for all of that work he was doing to manipulate it. Yep.
That's right. All right. So again, the media will bury that story. We will not. Brett, just let us know when something happens, or if you get any wind of whether the funding is going to be extended. And we are on this. Good to see you again, Brett. Thank you for helping us.
Great to see you, Bill.
Okay.